Chapter 6. On the planet Brandy Alexander, the universe is run by a fairly elaborate system of gods and she-gods, some evil, some are ultimate goodness. Marilyn Monroe, for example. Then there's Nancy Reagan and Wallace Warfield Simpson. Some of the gods and she-gods are dead, some are alive. A lot are plastic surgeons. The system changes. Gods and she-gods come and go and leapfrog each other for a change of status. Abraham Lincoln is in his heaven to make our car a floating bubble of new car-smelling air, driving as smooth as advertising copy. These days, Brandy says Marlene Dietrich is in charge of the weather. Now is the autumn of our ennui. We're carried down Interstate 5 under gray skies, inside the blue casket interior of a rented Lincoln town car. Seth is driving. This is how we always sit, with Brandy up front and me in the back. 3 hours of scenic beauty between Vancouver, British Columbia, and Seattle is what we're driving through. Asphalt and internal combustion carry us and the Lincoln town car south. Traveling this way, you might as well be watching the world on television. The electric windows are hummed all the way up, so the planet Brandy Alexander has an atmosphere of warm, still, silent blue. It's an even 70 degrees Fahrenheit, with the whole outside world of trees and rocks scrolling by in miniature behind curved glass, live by satellite. We're the little world of Brandy Alexander rocketing past it all. Driving, Seth says, "Did you ever think about life as a metaphor for television?" Our rule is that when Seth's driving, no radio. What happens is a Dionne Warwick song comes on, and Seth starts to cry so hard, crying those big Estenil tears, shaking with those big Provera sobs. If Dionne Warwick comes on singing a Burt Bacharach song, we just have to pull over or it's sure we'll get car wrecked. The tears, the way his dumpling face has lost the chiseled shadows that used to pool under his brow and cheekbones, the way Seth's hand will sneak up and tweak his nipple through his shirt, and his mouth will drop open, and his eyes roll backward. It's the hormones. The conjugated estrogens, the Premarin, the estradiol, the ethanol estradiol. They've all found their way into Seth's Diet Cola. Of course, there's the danger of liver damage at his current daily overdose levels. There could already be liver damage, or cancer, or blood clots, thrombosis if you're a doctor. But I'm willing to take that chance. Sure, it's all just for fun, watching for his breasts to develop, seeing his macho babe magnet swagger go to fat, and him taking naps in the afternoon. All that's great. But his being dead would let me move on to explore other interests. Driving, Seth says, "Don't you think that somehow television makes us God?" This introspection is new. His beard growth is lightened up. It must be the anti-androgens choking back his testosterone. The water retention he can ignore, the moodiness. A tear slips out of one eye in the rearview mirror and rolls down his face. "Am I the only one who cares about these issues?" he says. "Am I the only one here in this car who feels anything real?" Brandy's reading a paperback book. Most times, Brandy is reading some plastic surgeon's glossy hard-sell brochure about vaginas, complete with color pictures showing the picture-perfect way a urethra should be aligned to ensure a downward stream of urine. Other pictures show how a top-quality clitoris should be hooded. These are 5-figure, $10,000 and $20,000 vaginas, better than the real thing, and most days Brandy will pass the pictures around. Jump to 3 weeks before, when we were in a big house in Spokane, Washington. We were in a South Hill granite chateau with Spokane spread out under the bathroom windows. I was shaking Percodans out of their brown bottle into my little purse pocket for Percodans. Brandy Alexander, she was digging around under the bathroom sink for a clean emery board when she found this paperback book. Now all the other gods and she-gods have been eclipsed by some new deity. Jump back to Seth looking at my breasts in the rearview mirror. "Television really does make us God," he says. "Give me tolerance, flash. Give me understanding, flash." Even after all these weeks on the road with me, Seth's glorious, vulnerable blue eyes still won't meet my eyes. His new wistful introspection, he can ignore. The way the orals have already side-affected his eyes, steepened the corneal curve so he can't wear his contact lenses without them popping out. This has to be just the conjugated estrogens in his orange juice every morning. He can ignore all that. This has to be the Andra cure in his iced tea at lunch, but he'll never figure it out. He'll never catch me. Brandy Alexander, her nylon stocking feet up on the dashboard, the Queen Supreme still reading her paperback. When you watch daytime dramas, Seth tells me, you can look in on anybody. There's a different life on every channel, and almost every hour the lives change. It's the same as those live video websites. You can watch the whole world without it knowing. For 3 weeks, Brandy's been reading that book. Television lets you spy on even the sexy parts of everybody's life, Seth says. Doesn't it make sense? Maybe, but only if you're on 500 milligrams of micronized progesterone every day. A few minutes of scenery go by behind glass. Just some towering mountains, old dead volcanoes, mostly the kind of stuff you find outside. Those timeless natural nature themes. Raw materials at their rawest, unrefined, unimproved rivers, poorly maintained mountains, filth, plants growing in dirt, weather. And if you believe that we really have free will, then you know that God can't really control us, Seth says. Seth's hands are off the steering wheel and flutter around to make his point. And since God can't control us, he says, all God does is watch and change channels when he gets bored. Somewhere in heaven, you're live on a video website for God to surf. Brandycam. Brandy with her empty leg-hold trap shoes on the floor. Brandy licks an index finger and slow turns a page. Ancient Aboriginal petroglyphs and junk are just whizzing past. My point, Seth says, is that maybe TV makes you God, Seth says, and it could be that all we are is God's television. Standing on the gravel shoulder are some moose or whatnot just trudging along on all 4 feet. Or Santa Claus, says Brandy from behind her book. Santa Claus sees everything. Santa Claus is just a story, says Seth. He's just the opening band to God. There is no Santa Claus. Jumped to drug hunting 3 weeks ago in Spokane, Washington, when Brandy Alexander flopped down in the master bedroom and started reading. I took 32 Nembutols. 32 Nembutols went in my purse. I don't eat the merchandise. Brandy was still reading. I tried all the lipsticks on the back of my hand, and Brandy was still propped on a zillion eyelet lace pillows in the center of a king-sized waterbed, still reading. I put some expired estradiol and a half stick of plumbago in my bag. The realtor called up the stairs. Was everything all right? Jump to us on Interstate 5 where a billboard goes by. Clean food and family prices coming up at the Carver Stage Stop Cafe.